And now we are joined by markets commentator Tony Modise to unpack this a little bit further. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Prime.
Good morning, Laura. Thank you for having me.
First and foremost, your reaction on the Competition Commission's report on banks colluding.
I mean, this is quite unfair for, ordinary traders, day-to-day traders. And also, it's basically unfair competition to the whole market. It shows an element of greed to these people that have done these things. If you could think about it, there's an ordinary trader out there, or there's an ordinary guy that is not an institutional trader, and he doesn't have the type of database that these institutional traders have, of which basically he never knows where the market is going to go. Basically competition within the market, it becomes totally unfair to them, knowing that these big institutional traders, they came together basically to manipulate the market. They would decide their prices, they will decide when to sell, they will decide when to hold back. So technically it was purely in lines of this specific institutional traders that came together, from the cartel, in terms of, trying to get more commission or bigger commissions by, selling high, and obviously, and also buying with lesser prices.
Now, how has this been going on for so long?
This is something that I can't say it was never on an executive level. Hence, most people never knew about it. It's a normal human element of greed. Here you are, you got a job at this bank, and then you have this connect. You from business school, you met these people. You also moved from one bank to the other. You created a couple of connects, and then these people obviously they decided to create this specific chat room whereby they can decide and they can communicate using the data that they have from these different banking institutions. Of which it's pretty much quite unfair.
Now, the Constitution has been investigating a case of price fixing and market allocation in the trading of foreign currency pairs involving the rand since April 2015. Can you elaborate on the implications this price fixing and market allocation has on the country and its people? What does this mean for the everyday man?
When we look at it, it actually affected more on people that are into day-to-day trading. Spot traders. It affected them because this whole process it's almost close to insider trading, whereby you trade by using certain information that will only benefit a certain group of people. But when it comes to a man in the street, it doesn't really affect much, and we even saw the market. The market didn't really get to move much when this data came out. Of which we could still be in good state when it comes to, when June comes, when the the S&P 500 and the Modise come and rate the country. We see that the South African currency is still holding very strong, and our economy is growing. If we're gonna pinpoint these banks and try to tell these banks that they need to start their operations or whatsoever, it could cripple our economy very badly, because remember, this is an employee situation, an employee-employer situation. Obviously, when you have to work for a bank, there's honesty and integrity clause that you need to sign. And they didn't follow those honesty integrity clause, so technically they should be fired. Not that we need to cripple these banks. Most especially, banks like ABSA, banks like Standard Bank that came forward and stated why did this and this and this happen, how did it happen. It's literally something that was caused by, employees, not the bank itself. Hence, I'm saying that, it's not even in an executive level. Executives won't know that, because executives, they will only be excited about the returns. Everyone is following protocols. They don't know about this chat room that is happening on the side. They can never know.
That's interesting. Now let's talk about the markets. You say that they haven't moved much. Why is this?
Because this news really didn't really affect much on the market. We're looking at market ways that they have been operating throughout the years. This news, they came out yesterday, and then when you look at the rand is a very volatile currency, and when you look at the gold is very volatile as well. They easily move when any news comes out, most especially rand, when the news that are very negative within for our economy, that when they come out, it very moves very fast and in a specific way. But now it wasn't really affected much, because these are still investigations that needs to take place. we might find out that these South African banks were not really involved, and they were involved. These are still investigations going on.
We'll still have to wait for those investigations to take place.
Absolutely.
Now, the ANC has raised questions about whether the currency was manipulated with politically motivated intentions. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it doesn't really make sense to put this on a political perspective. It has nothing to do with politics, and it is far beyond politics. If you could look at the whole thing, the investigation really, they pulled out the records from 2004. They pulled out the records. I mean, they realized the whole thing has been taking place since 2007. I mean, when we look at the economy in 2007, take in mind that there's been financial market crash, of which it affected everyone. There was Brexit, of which it affected anyone. In the currency space, a lot of people that are into the currency space, they remember the whole Swiss franc situation that happened in 2015, of which it crippled a couple of banks as well. So hence I'm saying it has nothing to do with politics. It is far beyond politics. It is something that was done due to greed by bank employees that are getting paid on commission. You'll always want to get more. You'll always want to make more commission. So that's what they did, and it has been going on for years and years and years without realizing, because it didn't involve anyone that is in those, the executives, exactly.
Then what is your response to the way in which the Black First, Land First movement have responded, by asking for the stepping down of Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan? As you say, this is way beyond politics, so then why is this happening?
I think it's something that I wouldn't, I'm not really a political person, and it really has nothing to do with politics. It really has nothing to do with Pravin. I mean, we know that for a fact that if we move Pravin out, what's going to happen to the economy? Pravin is a normal investor that is looking into investing in certain companies. I mean, hence, once the board is part of the board of those couple of companies, the shareholder, like you and I, can buy shares in certain companies because we see potential of growth. Hence, I was saying earlier that this thing has started in 2004. To 7, and even like the research has been done in 2015. Where was Pravin in 2004? Where was he in 2007? Where was he at recession? Was he part of it? So technically, all of these things, they don't make sense to try to involve the finance minister on such things. It doesn't really make sense.
And then lastly, before we let you go, for the future, will this have a negative effect for those in business with these banks that have been implicated, such as ABSA and Standard Bank?
It comes with how the next guy looks at it, or clients of these companies looks at it. I mean, they need to look at it in a way that they know that the decisions were not done on top levels. The decisions were done on bottom levels, and when these things were done on bottom levels, they were not in their control. They didn't know what is happening, of which these things were happening. It's same as, I mean, you know that you could be running a tuck shop and your people, your staff is stealing one sweet, is stealing a packet of chips, is stealing 10 cents. You cannot really see that. What you're looking at, you're looking at, is their productivity, are protocols followed, are rules and regulations followed? Of which throughout the space, rules and regulations have been followed. It's just that these few guys that created a chat room on the side and started communicating and started, finding ways in using data accessible to them to do all of these things, of which these are people who have signed this confidentiality clause. These are people who have signed this honesty and integrity clauses. These are people who are licensed, who are regulated, of which, it was really beyond executive controls, because they were never part of it.
Mr. Modise, thank you so much for your time here on a ground report. We really do appreciate your professional opinion. That was Tony Modise, a markets commentator.